Good morning to you all. This video will be quite a bit different to what I normally put up. It's not a Peter's ramblings and it's not a rant, although it could probably be a mixture of both. It certainly doesn't include anything about the plants, the telephones, the lamps, the antiques. As you can see, I'm in the living room. The Christmas lights have been turned off as we're after the, I think they call the 12th night, is it? I don't know, but I know it's the 6th of January, the lights turn off. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the best time, or almost the best time of the year. We've got through Christmas. A time of the year which I detest. I dread Christmas coming on, and I'm always pleased when it's over and look towards spring and hopefully a good year. Whether it will be a good year with what's happening around the world, I've got my thoughts, I've got my opinions, but I won't make it more gloomy by thinking what could happen. Anyhow, let me go and give an explanation why I detest Christmas so much. To me, it brings back bad memories. Now, I go back many years, as a lot of you know. In a few days' time, I'll be 80, which I've repeated on several videos that I've made, which meant that I was born in the 1940s, in fact 1944 to be exact. So I've been around a while, and in that time, mainly due to my earlier years, why I've hated Christmas so much. It brings back very bad memories. Now firstly, as some of you know, my mother was very ill. She had a very bad heart. It was the mitral valve shaped like a bishop's mitre. It was dodgy, it wasn't working right. Well, in those days, heart surgery was in its infancy, and surgeons obviously spent a lot of time to try and solve the problems. Things now that are probably done quite easily. Through years, we learn so much from years. Anyhow, my mother had this complaint. It went back to when she had a childhood disease. Measles, was it measles? Yeah, measles, I think it was. It was in those days, it could be very bad. Well, in her case, it was bad. And I suppose, in a way, I'm lucky to be here, because I believe she was told not to have any kids. Well, if she had been told that and she took the advice, I wouldn't be here now. But anyhow, she did have, she had me. And anyhow, let's get back to the story. She was, I can remember going into hospital. The hospital was very good. It was the Brompton Hospital in London, and I used to visit. Well, I wasn't allowed to visit her. My father would take me to the hospital. In those days, driving was much easier. He had a motorcycle combination, and he would drive up to the hospital, which wasn't too far away from where we lived. Took me up to the hospital. He would park the bike near the hospital, and I would more or less wait outside, because kids weren't allowed into hospitals then. Terrible thought. And I was quite young. I was probably, well, I was young, 8, 9, something of that age. And I would spend time looking at the shops, and one shop which interested me and probably influenced me with the antiques was a shop called Hollander's, and they had such a vast display of clocks, barometers, scientific instruments. It fascinated me so much. Needless to say, the price of these things were quite expensive. And I think it was through that my interest started with antiques. Anyhow, getting back to the hospital, eventually my mother left the hospital, but later she was called back and she was operated on, and the operation was a success. All thanks to the surgeon who performed it. I think it was a Mr. Cleland, but my memory's a little bit shaky on that, but he obviously done a good job. The only problem was my mother was shifted off to a convalescent home called Mays Morton. I think I got the name right. Mays Morton. It was in Buckingham, and it was a convalescent home run by, at that time, by the hospital. Whether it was the British Heart Foundation now, I don't know, but it was Mays Morton was the name of the place. Remember that name, Mays Morton. I understand it's now a place for elderly. It's like a rest home and that for the elderly. Anyhow, my mother went there, and the idea was to recover, which they did in those days. And my hope, like my father, that she got through it okay. Unfortunately, she didn't. And this was around about Christmas time, hence one of my hates of Christmas. She, well, to put a couple of stories short, she was killed. When I say she was killed, perhaps that might have been a bit strong. But what happened, she was taken out of the hospital to go into, as far as I know, and remember I was very young then, and this story was told me when I was a bit older, quite a bit older. She was taken to the ambulance, presumably to bring her back up into London, because this convalescent home was in Buckinghamshire. Mays Morton, the name again. And the idiot that wheeled her to the ambulance, he was just a porter, and obviously a very thick one. He did not make sure that my mother was covered up sufficiently to not catch a chill or a cold, because in winter months, well, we all know, winter months things are cold. And she caught a chill, which killed her. So indirectly, the porter, I don't know the name, probably been dead many years now, killed her or caused her death. Manslaughter, don't know what you'd say. But unfortunately in those days I was too young to do anything about it. Obviously the story was probably covered and they got away with it. But through that I lost my mother, which started a lot of long troubles all the way through. I know I was told of her death when I was with an aunt at Manor Park. She was not on the telephone. In those days, telephones were fairly rare, and she relied on a call from my father from the local shop. She obviously knew someone in the local shop which would take any phone calls. Well, which she did. She took a phone call, and I was upstairs in one of the bedrooms playing, and I can remember well, with an old gramophone, an old wind-up gramophone, probably worth a bit of money now, I don't know, and some very old records. And while I was playing that, there was a knock on the door, my aunt's door, downstairs. My aunt went down, answered the door, and her expression was, "God blimey," or words to that effect. May have been a bit stronger than that. And that was when she was told of when and how a mother died. So that was the first reason why I detest Christmas so much. It brings back nothing but bad memories. Well, my memory seems to be quite good on certain things. I don't remember what happened yesterday, but I do remember things in the past. I remember the old London trams, not the trolley buses, although I remember them as well, but I remember the old London trams which were taken up. I don't know what year it was, but they were taken up. But the London trams were quite fascinating things. But anyhow, second reason, and this was before my mother died, and partly because she was ill, she couldn't look after me. I had scarlet fever. I don't know how I caught it, but obviously did. And I had to go to an isolation hospital. The isolation hospital was in Mitcham, Wandle Valley Isolation Hospital. I don't think it's there anymore. It was run like a prison camp. Horrible place. I think I was in there for about 6 or more weeks. I never saw my mother. It was horrible. It was like a prison camp. And where the nurses had certain favourites. Well, I wasn't one of the favourites. And I was obviously known for chatting a lot and talking. Well, an incident happened there which I remember all my life, and as far as I'm concerned, it was criminal. Remembering I was a kid at the time, one of the nurses came out carrying a little, it was made of porcelain, either I don't even know whether it was part of a piece of equipment. I don't know, but it looked like it was made of porcelain. It was like a cup-shaped device with a pair of scissors to go with it. And this nurse came out, put this device on my table next to the bed, and she said I was going to have my tongue cut out. Yes, that's exactly what she said. I was going to have my tongue cut out because I was talking. Well, as a kid, you believe everything. And I believed this, and it terrified me. And this is the first time I've ever mentioned this. That nurse should have been, well, obviously something should have happened. But I was a kid. They didn't believe you then. So that's what happened. Nothing obviously came of it. It was to put the fear of everything up me, which it did. And I thought I was going to lose my tongue because I would talk a lot. So that, I think, was also round about Christmas time. So another reason why Christmas brings nothing back but bad very bad memories. One nice point about this, when my mother, or I was released from the prison camp, Wandle Valley Hospital. I said prison camp. It was more like a prison camp. It was Wandle Valley Isolation Hospital. She took me home, or rather an ambulance took me home. And when I got home, I was introduced to a pussycat. My first experience of a cat. So it did have a nice ending. Anyhow, enough of that. Third reason why I don't like Christmas, or don't like winter, to put it mildly, I am on warfarin. Obviously to keep me alive, it's to keep the blood thin. And I'm on these warfarin tablets, not a high dosage of it, but enough to keep the blood thin. But what it did, in fact, do was to make you always feel cold. And in winter, which is another reason why I dread winter, you have to have the heating on, which is obviously costly, because I'm on this warfarin. It just makes you feel cold. And it's not just a cold, it's the cold feels like it's right inside of you. It is horrible. Believe me, it is horrible. So that's the other reason why I don't like Christmas. Well, I could go on. I will go on. I suffer from SAD. Seasonally affected. It's to do with the fact we don't get enough sunshine. And being a summer person, which I am, I enjoy growing my plants, which are in the summertime in the greenhouse, where the sun shines. It makes the plants grow. So obviously when the winter comes, you get nothing but grey, dismal, grey skies and cold weather, obviously. But this SAD, seasonally affected disorder, I think it's called, and the cure, or they say it's a cure, I think I take that with a pinch of salt, is to be under a certain wavelength of light, a UV type of lamp, but adds a bit of baloney. I don't think it works. So there's another reason why I dread Christmas. So to make the story a bit shorter, when November turns up in the year, I think, oh, here we go again. November, December, January, we start to look towards the new year, which I'm looking now, as this is in the new year, which I hope there will be more peace in the year. I don't hold much hope out. All I'm hearing about is doom and gloom. We've got a latest story on the TV about what happened to the postmasters or the runners of small post offices. There's nothing but trouble there. And this could, in fact, well, to me it seems like the crime of the century. What will ever happen, I don't know. But this is what's filling up the time with the news and all the programmes, the ring-in type programmes. I'm thinking of LBC, London Broadcasting. They're very, very good. But, you know, I'm just hoping things are going to cheer up with this, the way things are happening in the world. I don't know. In a way, I wish I could go back to the 1960s. I like the 1960s. Okay, and the 50s. I was at school in the 50s. Remember 1957, the Heinz advert? Enjoy 57 with Heinz 57 varieties. The 60s, think of the singers there. which was very, very good. They was good. Yeah, the roads were much quieter then. I look at the old programmes on talking pictures on TV, particularly the old films that go back and show the 60s. A lot of them show round the Battersea area, and I think, my word, how things have changed. Whether they've changed for the better, I have my doubts. But anyhow, I'm going to shut up now. I've gone on long enough. Hopefully, we'll put some videos up of the normal things that I show. But this had to be said today, and obviously a lot of people were wondering why I kept saying how horrible Christmas was. That is my story. It is true. I know nothing can be done about it now. But this is what happened. So thanks for listening. Any comments please make. I know it's a long drawn out video which only shows one of my rooms. I'm just sitting down and putting it through. And in fact my little camera is about to run out, so I'm going to end it now. So thanks for listening, and we'll pop it up on YouTube. Thanks a lot. Thank you.